And so I turned 18 this summer, right after my senior year of high school, I believe.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. And so I had a lot of my friends over, and man, we were in kind of a stage where we were drinking a lot of Mountain Dew, eating pizza, that kind of thing. And so, out in the backyard in the shed, we had it was a ping pong table, but there was so much other stuff that was in there. Beaver skulls, kayaks, really everything you could ever imagine in a shed. It was in there. So we were playing this game called Dew Pong. Obviously, you throw the ball into the cup and you have to drink the Mountain Dew. And so you can imagine after a while how much Mountain Dew you would drink. And it was a lot, especially if it's late at night, right? So we play a lot of that. We've all got a ton of Mountain Dew in our system. And, from the party, there was a party with everybody. And then there was the after party where the boys were spending the night, a slumber party, if you will, with 18-year-old boys. And so we were playing some Dew Pong. We had the leftover pizza because, we had eaten dinner 3 hours before. Obviously, we're going to take the leftover pizza and eat it, for dessert or early breakfast maybe. But it was late at night, maybe even early morning. And so we also had kind of this water slide that my parents had, I guess, rented for that day, and I guess for the night as well. And so, you get all that energy from the Mountain Dew, and hey, what else are we going to do? And we do the Dew, essentially. We decide, hey, we're going to make a race around the backyard against each other, and it's going to be, a test of manhood and willpower, essentially. And so we say, hey, look, the race is going to be 5 laps. We're going to, one station over here, you got to do 20 push-ups, and then you got to do a dive into the pool, swim the length of the pool, get out, do, 15 burpees, run over to the water slide, go down it, and just keep doing that. And this is obviously, like I mentioned, after we had so much Mountain Dew and pizza. It's not good. And so we go to kind of the last heat, if you will. And we've got the battle of the Seths. And that's Seth Barlow and Seth Martin. And Seth Martin is, he's a wrestler. He's skinny, but he's thick. He's long and flexible. And he's in great shape. And then Seth Barlow, I won't say he's the exact opposite of Seth Martin. He was also in shape, but he's a little more stout. He's got some guns on him, And so we said, look, these two are probably pretty evenly matched up. Let's have them run the gauntlet, if you will. And so they go through, they're running, they're neck and neck, swimming side by side, get out there. They're doing everything. The last lap, I'm telling you, it's head to head. And Seth Barlow gets out of the pool, and Seth Martin runs by him. And so he just stops and points his head towards the pool and just starts heaving. And we're like, turn the other way. Don't puke in the pool, man. And he just in the nick of time, just wheels his head around and just barfs for a solid 15 seconds. And in the background, you see Seth Martin come down the water slide with a victory screech. Oh, man. That was a fun night. It was really pretty crazy. But, yeah, that's was really a defining moment in my life, was just watching these guys run the gauntlet, puke, and they did it all, for friendship. So those were good times. They were simpler times, but we had our whole lives ahead of us at that point. But
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing.
And I think at that age, when you've got everything ahead of you, you're wondering what's going to happen in the future. But the truth is, I want to know what's happened in the past 7 days in your life.
That's a great question. And I'm going to share that with you. I just want to thank you for sharing your story of the past 7 years, because it is a simpler time. Is it a sweeter time, though? That could be a thought, just a rhetorical question, one that makes you think. It might be, but I doubt that's the case. As life goes on, time gets sweeter and sweeter.
Yeah,
and
I would agree with
preciouser
that.
and preciouser. Ooh, that's a good question. What more precious, but framing it with an ER? Do you precious more precious is the right word. I don't think.
Yeah, obviously.
But if you wanted to make it fit, would it be preciouser or precious sure? With a little SH at the end. Sure.
I don't think there's SH. Preciouser.
Preciouser. Sir, your time is preciouser than mine. What a weird word.
It is an odd one.
Anyway, the past 7 days, let me share with you. All right? Monday rolls around. What do I do? Well, easy. Pickleball. That's something that's scheduled in my calendar for every Monday evening. I forget the games we played, but they were great games. I'm certain of it. Tuesday rolls around. What do I do? Easy. Life group. That's scheduled in my calendar every Tuesday. Here we go. Wednesday rolls around. What do I do?
Angels, demons, and the unseen world, of course.
This is exactly what I wanted you to say, so I could then correct you and say no.
Oh my goodness.
I led you into that valley, and now I'm going to take you out of it because I want the control. I didn't actually go to Angels, Demons, and the Unseen World. And guess what? It was the last week of the study. And it was sad to miss. But I had the rehearsal in its stead while Angels, Demons, and the Unseen World was going on. So I was unfortunate to miss the last weeks, but on April 10th, get this, and if anybody's listening who's in Gainesville, Ocala, or Alachua, Marion County area that's willing to make the drive, let me share with you Christianity and other world religions. What do the other world religions say, and how does Christianity intersect with those world religions? How does it differ with those world religions? We're thinking about Taoism, Taoism. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
All the religions you learn in AP World History, that's what we're going to be talking about. And maybe a little something else, polytheism, Paulinism, meaning worshiping Paul, worshiping the teachings of Paul.
Oh, wow.
In the Bible, right? There's something called the Grace Movement, I believe, that only adheres to the teachings of Paul rather than Jesus, which is a real shame to the Word of God. Anyway, it's quite fascinating how you can take Paul, how you can accept everything that Paul says, but not Jesus.
Yeah, especially since all of his teachings are literally just pointing back to Jesus. But
It makes it a little more, yeah. I'm excited to learn more about it. I haven't done a ton of research on it, but that'll be good. Thursday, what do I do? Well, it's scheduled in my calendar. Pickleball, of course.
of course,
I played with some collegiate age students. And here's the deal. My brother came and played for the first time. Not ever, but in that Thursday group. And so, of course, I had to beat him. And it wasn't, I don't take joy in beating my brother because I love him dearly, and it hurts me to see him not succeed. But at the same time, how much more will he succeed if I defeat him at this moment? You know what I'm saying. I am working to prepare him for great things. Now,
yeah, this could be the juncture where he decides, look, I'm going to take this thing seriously and start trying to make a living out of it.
Correct. And isn't it funny when people, they do things, they don't take things seriously, so they don't feel as invested in that thing. You know, they're going to play a little jokey joke to kind of take away the feelings that you get when you don't succeed.
Right.
Oh, I wasn't trying. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that last week, and I don't know why I wasn't, why I was thinking about it, but there's certainly some folks that, hey, I'll not try. I'll like halfway try. And if I win or succeed, great. And if not, then I always kind of had the cop out of like, oh, I wasn't really trying, But I don't really see how that ever, how do you have any reward in life,
Well, here's the deal, in my opinion, and what I've come to the conclusion of as of where I am in my life right now. We should try. We should give our best in everything that we do to glorify the Lord. But it's the result that's not what matters. If that makes sense. So our effort matters, absolutely. But should we be upset if we lose a pickleball match? No. And here's why. I think you should be upset if you didn't try. You should be upset at yourself for not giving your best. And this is I'm not just talking about pickleball matches here. Actually, I'm not really talking about pickleball matches at all, but I'm just using that example. Is why? How do we react when we lose by score? How do I react when I lose a basketball game? Is it one that is thankful and grateful for the time that I got to spend on the court that was a gift? Or is it one that is upset that I didn't score as many points as my opponent? Why would we be upset? It's a reframing that must be had. If we view a basketball game, a pickleball game, a conversation, a class, a test, as an opportunity rather than, oh, I might lose this, and now I'm scared, I'm fearful how people will look at me if I lose this game, or I can't really handle the results of a loss because I get so upset and so competitive that I fail to put into perspective what this game actually is. Then we're falling short. So, again, the result of, oh, I did not succeed because I did not score as many points, I think that's a lie from the devil. We should redefine success as, have I glorified God from a Christian perspective? Right, your Taoists and Taoists are probably not going to say that same thing, but again, that's what I'm going to be learning in Christianity and other world religions. April 10th through May 15th. Does this make sense? Or am I just going off on some little rabbits?
Well, you're certainly chasing rabbits, but it does make sense. So yes to both.
Hey, praise God. Luckily, I left my breadcrumbs back, and I got back to my Wednesday. Like Hansel and Gretel. I believe that's their names. Thursday was pickleball. Friday, what do I do? Well, let me share with you. This is pretty special. I wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. I grabbed my glasses, I'm out the door, and then I hit the city. And I went golfing at Turkey Creek Golf Club in Alachua County, Florida. Alachua, Florida, my apologies. And I went golfing with no other than Brian Harrington. Let's see, what can we say about Brian? Brian is passionate. He is strong. He is an advocate of good. He is a warrior.
He's a Trekkie.
He's a Trekkie.
Big Trekkie.
He's been known to Spock clean, if you will. It was funny, actually. He showed up to the round in some sort of spacesuit. But it wasn't NASA. It was almost as if he was on a ship. And it had stars on it. And he had a split down the middle of his hair. I wasn't really sure what he was doing. But the first words he said to me is, "I'm Spock."
Perhaps he was saying "live long and prosper." I think that's what Spock says.
Gotcha. Live long and prosper.
Tell me you've never seen any Star Trek before without telling me. Oh, gracious.
That's
he was
hilarious.
just searching for that red matter is all he was searching for.
I'm about to be on a trip with Brian for 9 days, and it's going to be incredible.
Really?
Really. But we play golf. All right, let me share with you. I'm talking to Nancy. Nancy's in the pro shop Friday morning. I say. She says, "There's two of you." I say, well, Nancy, two people were at it a little later. All right. And I called last night. I left a voicemail. And let's just say Nancy didn't really enjoy that addition. Because I was met with, well, there's 4 people on here. And I said, well, that's great. That's exactly what we asked for. She said, no, 2 people were at it after you called. I said, they called the original time. This was like 2 months in advance.
Oh, wow.
I booked this thing. And that threw Nancy for a loop.
Naturally.
And I told Nancy, I said, hey, Nancy, first, I get it. I get the inconvenience that this causes you. Second, I really need you to work this out for us. I also threw Brian under the bus. He was my fall guy. I tried to hold the line. I tried to hold it, but she was persistent on putting the blame on someone. And I said, Nancy, you got to understand, I've done all I could for this movement, but
this
it's
guy
all Brian's
over here.
fault. It's all Brian's fault. Ultimately, it all worked out, and it was all excellent. But I don't think I'll be returning. I'll be allowed to return to Turkey Creek Golf Club while Nancy's in the pro shop. Let's just say that.
Can you say who your late additions were? Can we blame them instead of Brian?
They were Bryce Russell and Josiah Hagland, which are absolutely fun guys. Fun guys. Speaking of grounding, even Josiah Hagland is a grounder himself. No shoes on the course. Played the entire course barefoot. Oh,
You're
yeah.
lying.
Well, he had flip-flops. Are all I can handle. Um, I was envious, righteously envious of his grounding technique. Honestly, I yeah, I loved it. It was pretty awesome. The Friday afternoon, I then went to a little tennis, play a little tennis with a guy from West Side, and that was a lot of fun as well. So it was a day filled with outdoor activity, which was great. Let's see. Saturday rolls around. Saturday was very chill until well, this was actually very chill. Let me let me just share with you something about Brenner. You ever heard of Brenner?
I don't think so.
Brenner, allow me to share, is breakfast for dinner. All
Ah,
right. So I
yes,
get
of
a text
course.
from James Gary, Jimmy Gary, New King James, Buddy
Buddy
Styles,
Styles.
excuse me. And he says, "Brother, we're planning Brenner. 5:53 p.m. Be there." And I said, "At your service. I'm there." All right. So I show up to Brenner, and oh, waffles. Yes, green waffles because it's the Grinch. We're
Oh,
working with the Grinch, with old Jude and Ezra, who are their children. Now, that might be too much information, more than I'm allowed to share, but I did it anyway. So, I apologize. Onward. They wanted the Grinch, so we gave them the Grinch. Well, they gave them the Grinch. I was just participating as well. And you know what Jude got? He got green Grinch milk. He got the
oh,
Grinch's milk. And I asked him, "How is the Grinch's milk?" And he said, "It's magically delicious." And I said, "I would love some Grinch's milk." Um, but waffles, eggs, bacon, grits, blueberry syrup.
gracious.
I mean, it's hard to beat. Anyway, movement goes on. Sunday rolls around. Sunday's just a great day. That's 2 day. I go Las Margaritas, where I've just gone. They're just coming back from Las Margaritas, Spanish for the margaritas.
Of course.
Um, Chicken Alisco, double rice, no beans, locked and loaded. Get in and out in 30 minutes. It's an easy order. But we began to talk about conspiracy theories. We might get banned on this, but we started to talk about adrenochrome, Epstein's
Who was
Island.
we? Who was we?
Sorry, our mission trip team.
Oh, okay.
So we're at the dinner table talking about that kind of stuff. What else did we talk about? Oh, JFK assassination. We talked about that as well. There's seven of us. Six of us are love conspiracy theories. One of us is anti conspiracy theory because they believe it's it's just not a real conversation. You're just not having a conversation. You're just talking.
Mm.
But I came from there and now I'm here and it's been absolutely phenomenal. And it's been life-giving. I will say I went on a walk in the outdoors this afternoon, so I'm a little stuffy. I've also been using my voice all day, so it's a little shot. But that could be why it sounds a little allergenic, a little filled at the nostril, as some might say. The pollen is really after me. And I can't help but notice there's a plant behind you that it looks as if it has a little pollen shoots out of it, but I could be wrong.
I think it's wheat. So I don't know
Ah,
if
that is
that has
another thing
pollen
that
or
I
not.
am
But
allergic to.
oh, really?
I'm allergic to wheat. If I were to roll around in wheat, I would break out. I'd get itchy.
Okay.
Actually, I haven't done that in quite some time. When I was younger, that was fact. But then I spent 5 years of my life getting shots.
Mm. And eating bread. so that
I
you could
filled up
conquer
on
this.
bread. Correct. Microdosing bread.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Oh
man.
man.
Well, I rambled there. There's no doubt about it. But you asked me how the past 7 days was, so I shared. But now that I'm finished, I would love to hear about your 7 days.
Well, I appreciate that. And I don't think you rambled. You just, you did your thing. You told us about your week and I asked you to do it. So I will say, as a little side note to the conspiracy theories, this morning in Sunday school, they were using the flat earth theory as not like an illustration, but they were making some connections um, in our lesson to that, and they were like, what are some of the things that a flat earther would say, to prove their point? And these people were going around like, oh, you'd fall off the edge if you sailed off the end. And I looked over at Molly and she was just looking at me. She was just shaking her head, just like, please don't do this. Don't go so hard because these people are going to think you're crazy. And I had them all locked and loaded too. I was like, well, I mean, if you think about this, here's just one. Okay, I'll only say one, and it's pretty convincing. So the Earth has a curvature, supposedly, right? How can ships, they can shoot a laser, right, and hit another ship that's 1,000 miles away, right? Lasers are straight. If the Earth is curved, how can two ships shoot straight lasers at each other and there not be any sort of, that would be hundreds and hundreds of feet of dip of curvature of the Earth, and they would shoot right over, it's a tangential line, that they would shoot right over the ship. And then they said, well, we have pictures in outer space of a round Earth. And I said, well, obviously the government invented space and it's not real. This is where these people, their whole line of thinking is flawed because they trust the government.
There's also, and sorry for our, this is as PG-13 as we'll get. People deep fake, inappropriate photos on people, if you know what I'm saying, and they say it's real. You think people actually believe that that's real? Why wouldn't they just? Why? Who's to say they didn't deep fake the round Earth? We should be talking about the round Earth as a conspiracy.
Look, I agree. We're supposed to believe Buzz Aldrin. Dude, if I went to space, the government would be like, here's $300. I need you to tell everyone that asks you about it that the Earth is round. Rest of my life. Yeah, the Earth is definitely round, dude. I was up there. I saw it. You know what I mean? So,
and
anyways.
You know what happened? Buzz Aldrin has been caught punching a guy in the face saying he didn't actually go on the moon. He said he was confronting him. He said, I know you weren't on the moon. I know the moon landing's fake. And what did Buzz Aldrin do? He punched the guy in the face. Why would you punch some guy in the face?
Probably because...
Unless you have something to hide.
Right. I mean, in the words of Tom Cruise, you can't handle the truth, Mr. Aldrin. But my week was good. It was a pretty typical week. On Wednesday, I stayed home with Stetson because he had let's call it an upset tummy. But he was having some serious tummy issues. And so Tuesday in the middle of the day, they sent him home from daycare and said, hey, he's had 3 or 4 really, really nasty diapers. So we're going to have to keep him home until, he can control himself pretty much. And so I stayed home with him on Wednesday. Molly stayed with him Thursday and Friday, and because he's just, just wasn't getting much better. But took him to the doctor, said that she has seen 4 kids within the past hour who had some sort of GI bug. So that was comforting in a way to know that there wasn't, it was just a bug. It wasn't, anything wrong with him. Thank the Lord. But I'm trying to think what else we did. It was just, that was really the only crazy thing was I stayed home with him on Wednesday. Friday, I'm trying to think. I forgot my notes. Friday, I don't think we did anything. It was pretty chill. Saturday was a fun time. Yesterday, I got up and went and golfed with Todd and Jacob. It was for Jacob's birthday. He turned 29, I think, on Thursday. And so we took him out and we golfed. And I tell you what, man, I did not play well at all. And I feel like the last 5 times I played golf, I've just said that I did not play well. I was absolutely hammering my drives, like middle of the fairway, just absolutely piping it. And then my short irons and approach shots were just hideous. Couple that with my poor chipping and putting, and it doesn't end well. It doesn't matter how good of a drive you hit if you can't put it in the hole. So, and that's really the name of the game, is just put the ball in the hole.
You got to get it in the hole.
And then Saturday night, we got a babysitter, and we went to this Italian place called Bavaro's. And I had never been, but one of the guys on my last job site, he went pretty regularly, and he said it was really, really good. And so we went, and let me tell you, dude, so good. We got, for an appetizer, we got these oysters. We got like a dozen oysters, and it was just me, Molly, Amber, and Jacob. And they were like oysters Rockefeller, but with like an Italian flair. Lights out, dude. So good. So as an appetizer, we ordered that and some, is it bruschetta? The bread with tomato and it was whipped, whatever that cheese is, maybe ricotta. And so whenever we ordered, we said, hey, can we get the bruschetta and the oysters? And they thought that we said, either they thought or they brought it to the wrong table. Anyways, they brought us the bruschetta and they brought us cheesy bread as well. And we said, hey, this isn't us. We had the oysters. And so the guy's like, all right. Because it was just a food runner. It wasn't our server. He takes it, goes back to the kitchen. Next thing we see, the manager comes out with cheesy bread and puts it on our table. And he said, I don't know if it's because we put it on the table or what, but he said, hey, guys, we messed up. Our fault is your advantage or your benefit or something like that. So enjoy this cheesy bread on the house. So I thought that was lovely. I was like, wow, this is great. Because a lot of places, I mean, they'd probably take it in the back and the chefs would eat it or they'd just throw it in the garbage. But me and Jacob, as soon as the guy took it away, me and Jacob were joking, like, we should have been like put our hands on it. Like, oh, this isn't ours. Like this cheesy bread you set in front of us, that doesn't belong to us. We didn't order that, but they brought it back to us anyways. So that was really, and the manager, he patted me on the back as he was giving us the cheesy bread. So I was like, I don't know if you're trying to make an advance on me by bringing me free cheesy bread or what, but and he was a bald man. Yeah, it's working, bro. That's all I need. And then we got some of this spicy pizza. It had Italian cured meats and spices and more cheese. And it was just so good.
What
And they
kind of cured
found,
meats are you eating?
oh gosh, dude, I can't even. First and foremost, I'd love to learn Italian because I think it's a beautiful language. But you could name any Italian meat, and I like when I read the menu at an authentic Italian place, I read the words, but nothing really registers in my mind. You know what I mean? Like the cheeses and the meats that they use. I just know that they're, hey, that's a cheese, or hey, that's a meat. And then you order it, and you just kind of pray, really what, honestly, what we did, the table next to us got this pizza that looked really yummy. And I said to my waiter, I put my arm around him and I pull
Of
him in
course.
close. And I say, you see those folks over there? That lady right there in the black sweater, I want that pizza that she's got. I don't know what it's on, what the name is on the menu. He said, oh, it's this and this. It's like, all right, just please order it for me. So
I'm begging you. Just
if
order it.
it is, I don't even care. Just pick something off the menu. I can't do this. If it's not an Olive Garden, I am struggling mightily.
Yeah, I'll take the cheesy bread.
Yeah. Like, let me just get another order of the cheesy bread. It's a safe bet. But man, it was a great night. And for his birthday, they brought us a complimentary Nutella pizza. And it was, I mean, dough. And it's like Neapolitan, I think, or Neapolitano or something like that. And so the dough is,
I think that's Napoleon.
oh, and he was French.
We.
Dang. But it was just doughy, and it had Nutella, and it had more dough on top. So it was almost like a Nutella calzone almost. But it was so good, dude.
Oh,
Especially when you bite
chocolate
into
and
it and you just have
hazelnut.
the hazelnut spread. It drips down both sides of your mouth.
Have you ever had a chocolate hazelnut s'more before? A Nutella s'more?
I had a feeling you were going there, and I have not.
Oh, neither have I, but I think we've just unlocked an opportunity.
New level unlocked. I'll tell you what the move is for a s'more, and I don't know if you like these or not, but
The answer is yes.
the peanut butter cup, the large, skinny peanut butter cups,
Yeah.
in lieu of the Hershey's bar. But you got to make sure you stick it right by the fire and get the insides kind of gooed up, if you will.
Right. You got to get the innards a little melty.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my week. It was good. I did see an article, and this is just something I saw on the internet. It was not really something that happened to me. But I guess all these country music singers and artists, whatever, they're getting together to do a Tom Petty tribute album. I think it's by Big Machine Records, so they have Chris Stapleton, Midland, George Strait, Dierks Bentley. They're all going to be covering Tom Petty songs. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. The only Tom Petty song I know is Won't Back Down. And quite frankly, it's overplayed where I live.
No. Is that really the only Tom Petty song you know?
I'm certain I've heard his other songs, but that's the only one that I know for sure that he's written and played and sang.
This is like dang Jimmy Buffett all over again. Just iconic artists. Once again, Bo knows nothing about them.
Well,
you ever
here's
heard
the deal.
American Girl?
Is that that's his song? Sounds familiar.
Gosh.
I couldn't sing you the lyrics other than it probably has American Girl in it. American girl, how
Go.
beautiful. What's the next line? I forgot. She's wrapped in the flag.
Oh, gracious. You'll have to go give that one a listen and listen to the words, because obviously, he's the mayor of Gainesville. So there's a lot of Gainesville imagery in that song in particular.
You know what's funny? I believe we talked about this on this podcast whenever we first began. Is Clayton, I was talking to about pickleball. He was the guy who told me I would never win president. And it's just whenever you said he's the mayor of Gainesville, it brought me back to that conversation, because Clayton said I couldn't even become mayor of Gainesville. And for all this time, I thought it was because he didn't believe in my ability, but come to find out it's because Tom Petty is the mayor of Gainesville. So Clayton, I apologize. I've used that as a weapon against you, and that's not what you meant. Probably you were just such a fan of Tom Petty and his American women. So I publicly repent in this facet.
Yeah, that's
a classic
tough.
mistake.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you thought that he didn't have the confidence in you, but really it's more of a logistical. Hey, you can't be the mayor of Gainesville because that spot's taken. So,
yeah.
Have you seen any sports? Have you been watching any sports? Anything at all?
I've been watching a few things. The Olympics are starting in the summer. Just an FYI, I'm going. Golf started. Golf for Cognizant Classic. I need to do some research on what Cognizant is, because it sounds like it has to do with the brain, with the whole cognition type thing. But maybe
Right.
cog is that root word, and that's cost of goods. Cogs and business is cost of goods sold. So maybe they're a business firm. Who knows? It's not really relevant, other than that I watched the first 3 days, but quite frankly, I haven't had the moment to have a look at who won the tournament today. I'm so sorry. But then I saw old Texas Longhorn broke the record for the fastest 40-yard dash at 4 seconds, 4.21 seconds. That's 4 seconds and 21 hundredths of a second. It's pretty cool.
At the combine.
Pretty cool.
Right?
At the combine. Yeah. So those were some sports that I saw. How about you?
Well, I saw this one article, and I know that we've previously reached out to the Texas Rangers about their Dollar Glizzy night, and I actually had an article come up on my ESPN app that said that the Philadelphia Phillies, they're ending their Dollar Dog Night starting this year, this upcoming season, and people are really, really upset about it. The owner came out and said, look, it's not because of, it's not because of costs or anything like that.
Cogs.
Cogs. But it's because the concourses are getting too crowded with people buying hot dogs. And I think that's kind of a cop-out. A lot of people think it's a cop-out because last year they had a big food fight in the stands, legitimately. Like the bottom rows on I think it was like the third base side, there's like a whole section. They went and bought, you take $10, say, hey, give me all your dogs, and you get 10 dogs. And they said that they were just throwing wieners at each other. And they said that was probably the tipping point that solidified their decision. So it's a shame because, I thought that we went to sporting events to have fun. And it almost seems like the people who are all high and mighty want to take that away from us. If I want to
Yeah.
spend my hard-earned money to buy a hot dog and throw it at someone else, I should have the right to do that,
Yeah. It's just sad, because people go to games not for the baseball, but for the dollar. It's the cheapest place you can find a hot dog these days. And people are going there to feed their families, and you're taking that away from them? And what about the lower income class, even the lower middle and even middle class? You can feed your family for $7, and now you're going to charge $6 for a wiener? I mean, you have a family of 3, that's $18, and that just gets you a wiener. You can't even have a cup of water or a bag of chips.
It doesn't even get you in the gate.
That's right.
You got to get into the game first.
That's right. And what a national travesty. A crime against humanity is what I would call it as well. To take away dollar hot dog night from faithful and loyal baseball fans. You see, 80% of the people at that game, 80% are not that invested. But that 20%, 20% of those people are what makes up that 80% of fan loyalty. And those 20% are statistically the ones that desire the hot dog. That is my defense.
A lot of folks that go to
team
baseball
save
games.
the wieners.
Yeah, me as well. If they did that at the Condren Ballpark in Gainesville, I would make a trip up just for that. I don't think they'd ever do it because I think a hot dog is currently like $6, like you said, and it is the cheapest thing on the menu, except for maybe peanut M&Ms. Those are probably $3.50, which is so ridiculous.
Today, we have a Men's Bayou Bash coming up, Cajun food at the church. And I wrote in our announcement scripts, we polled 100 people what you could buy for $15 in Gainesville. And one of those items was a hot dog at a UF baseball game.
Really?
And it really hit home with the people, But it's just a nationally known thing that the prices of wieners are increasing. And the more we take away dollar dogs, the more we take away faithful fans, the more we take away fruitful fellowship.
Yeah, and I mean, really, at the root of it, it's the same government that's trying to, convince everybody that space is real and that the earth is round. And they're the ones freaking driving up the cost of wieners. So really, that's kind of the, getting back to the root of all of our issues.
Talk about rabbit trails and placing bread on our way. We've made it all the way back to the beginning, my friends.
It's a loop. It's a loop.
Unlike the earth.
Right. Oh, man. Well, have you watched any reality television? Because I've been watching so much, dude.
What have you been watching?
Oh, what have I not been watching? Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. They're in the middle of their reunion right now. So long season coming to a conclusion. Below Deck is in, I think, week 3 or 4. They're just getting kicked off. Below Deck's one of my favorites. It's an absolute classic. Vanderpump is back. I think they're in episode 3 this week, 3 or 4. Um, what else? What else? What else? Obviously, Summer House comes on a little later in the week. It's on Thursday, but I've got, I mean, Monday through Thursday, I have wiped my calendar because you go Monday, Below Deck, Tuesday, Vanderpump, Wednesday, Beverly Hills, and then Thursday, Summer House. Friday, I'm like, what am I going to do with my, what are we going to do? We're just sitting around the house. There's nothing to do.
Play pickleball.
Play pickleball, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, get out there in the community. Hit some wiffle. Hit some pickle. Soak yourselves in vinegar and call yourselves a cucumber.
Yeah. Have you watched any Below Deck?
Well, I was
Vanderpump?
listening to you. I was listening to you, and I was looking for things we had in common, and these are 2 things: Below Deck and Summer House.
Oh yeah.
And they're 2 of the great ones. I really enjoy Captain Carey.
Mm-hmm.
His picture and definition of leadership, I think, is quite beautiful. And he had a moment on that show where the chief stew
Fraser.
was looking to Fraser was looking to send home one of his stewardesses, and Captain Carey said, "Well, is she good at blank?" And he said, "Well, yeah." And Captain Carey said, "Well, let's get her on blank, and then behind the scenes, let's work on her other thing." And I think we're talking about service versus laundering. And I just thought that was a beautiful, beautiful picture of leadership. Is just because one seed in the apple has gone bad doesn't mean you can't redeem and partake in the rest of the apple. If we view our employees as people versus items or taskmasters, if you will, then we kind of humanize them and say, all right, I want to see you succeed. That's what I'm getting at. Is Captain Carey, he's viewing his employees as people he wants to see succeed, not just to get the job done. There's a difference.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, it's tough because, we saw Fraser last year. He was very lenient, I guess, with his stewardesses, and I think they kind of took advantage of him a little bit as far as maybe not doing as good of a job as they could have been doing, slacking off a little bit. Because I think he wanted to be, I think it was his first time maybe being the chief stew. And so I think this time around he realized, hey, maybe I was a little more lax last year than I should have been. And possibly he's overcorrected this year, saying, look, I'm not going to have any funny business. First person that, messes around and gives me any attitude, I'm going to get you kicked off the boat pretty much. And he did. He tried. It didn't work out for him. But something tells me, and the girl's name is Barbie. So something tells me she's probably going to get fired by the end of the season, but it's just hard with a name like that for people to really take you seriously, I think.
It was funny. Barbie said she was getting some constructive criticism, and she said, they did an interview, she said, I'm not used to this. My dad, growing up, he's always like, Barbie, you're doing great. You're perfect. And I just don't know why they can't say that to me on the boat. And I thought to myself, oh, Barbie. Oh, Barbara. Oh, you have so much to learn, my friend. And if only you knew what Captain Carey has already done for you.
Mm. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Captain Lee would have dealt with that as opposed to Captain Carey. I think Lee would have trusted Fraser enough to to be like, all right, kick her off, because they've worked together so much. But this new dynamic with Carrie and Fraser is going to be interesting. So we'll see what happens.
We will. But it's been good, man. Anything else you've been seeing? You know, any other thoughts on the flat Earth?
Mm.
Or was there a resolution to your discussion this morning?
No, I think they were just trying to use it to prove like an overarching point. Um, but my main thing was that Molly really was wanting me to just not pipe up so much, because I was kind of locked and loaded to go hard there. I'm interested to hear. I don't know who was talking about the adrenochrome, but Molly specifically gets, I wouldn't say upset, but she doesn't like whenever I talk about adrenochrome, because she thinks I sound crazy when I talk about it, even though there's a lot of evidence. There's a lot of
Here's the thing
evidence.
for conspiracies. With me for conspiracies, are we so locked into what we say is true as far as these governmental conspiracies? Are we so locked into that if a conspiracy is actually true, is our world and our life actually disrupted? And I feel like when people disagree immediately and are systematically opposed to conspiracies, it's because their world is being disrupted. But why? Why is the world disrupted? You know what I'm saying. Why would the earth being flat change your opinion on life? Why would the moon landing being fake, change your opinion on what goes on? Why would, I guess, let's put it this way, why would something you thought to be true for so long and now not being true impact you so greatly that you have to live in denial? Again, are we speaking in metaphors? Perhaps. But it's something to think about. Are we so committed to what we believe is truth on this side of the earth that if something changes on us, we have a really hard time? Is that an unwillingness to change? Is that a pride in the circumstance? I can't answer that for our people. But I will tell you, for me, I think it would be. I think it would be. I think I'm right. I think I can't handle another thing not going the way I thought it would. So I don't even want to deal with it.
Yeah, I think there's a comfort in this is this is the way it is. All right. And you silly people with your silly theories, why even talk about it? You know what I mean? Because, I mean, in their mind, it's like, what does it actually change? Kind of the opposite of what we're saying, but we're saying the exact same thing, right? What does it actually change? You know, if these politicians are going to Epstein's Island to drink adrenochrome, and do other unspeakable acts because they're, interdimensional globalist aliens. But if that's the truth, which there's some evidence that it could be, then why even, what does that change? And I think a lot of people don't even want to have that conversation because they're so comfortable in what they currently believe, And are we too comfortable, not only, with our thoughts about, these theories and normal life, but that probably applies to a lot of other areas to our lives as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And why? Let's just throw this out here. Does talking about conspiracy theories mean you believe the conspiracy theory? Not necessarily. I think it unlocks a level of creativity, though, that may not be explored if it's like the cost of not doing something, if you'll allow me to phrase it that way. What is the cost of not thinking this way? You see, it could be costly in the moment to think this way because your beliefs are challenged, your thinking, you have to give some serious thought to it. But in the long run, if you live in denial, what do you teach yourself? These are all things. These are all things to think about. Conspiracy theories are fascinating, however, because I like learning about them. But to be frank, I don't necessarily believe all of them, but I do throw them out there from time to time just to get some thought boards going. You know, why wouldn't you think about what's going on?
Right. And I think there's a level of, critical thinking that goes into it. And even if you don't believe it, there's nothing wrong with being well versed in it. You know what I mean? Knowing the arguments of both sides, the facts, and evidences, I guess you could say. I don't think there's anything wrong with being well versed in them, even if you don't,
Correct.
even if you don't believe it.
It's actually quite good practice to be well versed in the things you don't believe in, not experientially, but applicably and knowledgeably. I was looking for the knowledgeable word, but I couldn't figure it out. Intellectually versed, perhaps, is the word. Why attend Christian and world religions? We got to be well versed in what these people believe. It helps. It helps understanding what people are going through, where people have come from, where people are wanting to go. If we're just living in our bubbles, not willing to explore and learn about what other people think, how they act, how they react, we are missing the mark, people. So go out there and learn about some conspiracies this week. Maybe to learn about another world religion,
That's true. And I would encourage everyone to go, and if you're wanting to learn about conspiracy theories, I would say just Google Operation Paperclip and, just see where that takes you. Just check out the rabbit hole that takes you down. You're going to start to question a lot of things, I bet. So I won't say anything other than that. You can all draw your own conclusions. But one thing that I'm super curious about is what your song of the week is.
I so knew you were going to ask that next.
Did you?
Yeah. I'm going to go Hallelujah by Afterthought. AFTRTHGHT. He just took out the vowels. It's all consequences. All consonants. This guy is a former rapper. Well, he's still a rapper. He's a former secular rapper, then been accepted Lord as his savior. And then he's now producing this music, and I very much enjoyed listening to it. I heard him for the first time this week, so it's appropriate that it's the song of the week for me. How about you?
My song of the week is by Ghost Ship. Second one by them. They've got a cool sound. The song's called Son of David, and it's about the blind man that Jesus heals, but it talks about him sitting at the gate of the city, and how he essentially sits there as a beggar, and he has no real options in life until Jesus comes and saves him, and so he cries out, Son of David, and it pretty much goes right along with the story that's told in the Gospels, but I don't know. I just think it's really with all the healings that Jesus did, I think there's such an easy comparison with, you know, the healing that he does for their physical bodies, but also the forgiveness of sins, not only for them, but for all of us as well. So that's one of the easier comparisons and connections to make, I guess you could say, in Scripture. So that's my song, Son of David by Ghost Ship.
Hey, that's beautiful. And unlike American Girl, I know how that song goes. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
I don't think so. I would urge YouTube not to take our video down because we discussed some sensitive theories that may or may not be true. Look, we didn't say any of them were true, okay? We just discussed them a little bit, so that's really all I got to say.
Hey, that's awesome. And I agree we are not saying these things are true, but we are saying we should think about them. No reason not to. I do have a final thought. New King James Ball and Bread and Flobo just released a new song called the Spring Break Anthem, and with spring break coming up, we think it's appropriate that you should listen. It has some serious elements to it. You kind of don't know what's hit you if you know. Well, you don't know what I'm saying because you haven't listened, but if once you do, you will know what I'm saying. Anyway, it's been a fabulous week, and it will be a fabulous week. And just as a reminder, we love you deeply, and we love you generously. And we're going to see you in 7 days.